Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to the Nighttime Podcast's listener-contributed Encounters with Creeps series. If you're new to this, I'm Jordan, and Encounters with Creeps is a series in which my pal Madelanye Klein and I offer you, the listeners of Nighttime, a platform to share your far too many run-ins with people you consider to be creeps. And tonight, Madelanye and I are going to present the 19th volume of your Encounters with Creeps. We're going to hear about some creeps driving cars, we'll hear about some random run-ins with creeps, and then we'll revisit the never-ending train wreck that is creeps at work. So buckle up and welcome to another round of Encounters with Creeps. Ms. Madelanye Klein, it's episode 19 of Encounters with Creeps. Can you believe we've done this many of these?
No, I thought it wasn't that high, but yeah, here we are.
We had a little discussion before we hit record about how many volumes we are into this. Double checked, it is in fact volume 19. I still have an overflowing folder on my desktop of creep encounters that we've yet to get to, and there's more coming in every day. It seems like maybe the creeps out there are feeling more emboldened by getting the attention on the show. I don't know. Or maybe we've provided a safe space for people to share these stories. What do you think it is?
I'm not sure, but I think we've joined like the wedding and the funeral people, and we'll never be out of work.
Mm-hmm.
This is an ongoing thing forever now.
This is what we do from now on. Our legacy will be hours and hours of mildly traumatic encounters with creeps that people from all over the world have had. So if you're listening to this now, person out there, you probably have a creep encounter story. We'd love to hear about it. You can share it with us at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. And if you're new and you don't know what's even going on here, for 19 volumes now, we've been compiling and analyzing, cringing at, sometimes laughing at, sometimes feeling horrible about listeners' encounters with creep stories. And tonight we got maybe you even hear it in my voice. I'm very excited tonight. I truly believe we have a fascinating collection of creep encounters. Before we get into them though, I should ask, anything new with you? Have you had a creep encounter?
I was just thinking about this today.
Okay.
It's like, have I experienced any creeps lately? But no.
Okay.
Like I said, I very rarely leave my house. I only leave my house if I have to. So
that's a segue to my quote unquote creep encounter, as I'm
No.
also a bit of a shut-in, and I had the most mild creep encounter of all time today. Maybe you can relate to this as someone who doesn't go outside often. I was sitting in my basement doing my thing, editing a podcast, and I got my doorbell went off. So I looked at my phone because I have a Ring video doorbell, and I'm looking at just kind of an out of place person standing on my doorstep, and I see them kind of get up on their tippy toes and they look through like the little window in my door, like, is anyone in there? And then they kind of walk up and down my driveway, come back to my door, ring the doorbell a second time, and at this point I'm ready, like I'm already in fight and flight mode. I never answer the door, by the way.
Right. Unless you have an appointment, I'm not answering. Even if you text me and you're like, are you home? I'm like, why? I don't know if I'm home yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm home. You tell me what you need.
Yeah. Well, the way this story ends is after the second doorbell ring, the person walked down my driveway and walked out of sight down the street. I have no idea who they were or why they came to my door, but I'm not taking any chances.
No, God, no. Like 14 years ago, I got my brother a doormat that says go away.
That's awesome.
And he still uses it. And he's like, it works really well. So maybe I should find one for you.
Well, let's get into it here. We have a whole collection of these stories tonight. I'm going to break them up into themes. We have stories about driving. We have random encounters with creeps, it's like a reoccurring thread. And then we have some professional creeps, and one is going to take place inside a hospital. I'm excited to share that. Maybe I'll save that for the end because I think there's some really wild ones there. Why don't we start with driving creeps? Are you okay with that? Any objections?
I'm wearing my Volkswagen shirt, so I think this is very appropriate.
Wow. Yeah, that's how appropriate. Um, so, a part of the genesis for this series was my series of episodes I did about the Halifax glove guy. You joined me for some of the stories in that series. I'm going to open the show with a voicemail from a listener who has a theory about the glove guy and why he's doing what he's doing or how he's able to do what he does. For people who are new to this series, the Halifax glove guy is I live in the city of Halifax, and he's probably our most infamous creep. He's a man who's notorious for going around downtown Halifax, sort of maybe suggesting that he's a taxi to get young men alone in his car with him, where he can proposition them to try on leather gloves that he seems to take some kind of sexual pleasure in watching them struggle to put on. If you want to hear that story, I have a three or four part series on it. But we have a listener here who has a theory on how the glove guy is able to get away with this.
Hi, Jordan and Madeline. It's Steph calling back from Alberta. I'm calling in regards to your Glove Guy series, which I love for reasons I can't even explain to myself. Um, so, you mentioned in a recent episode that he seemed to prefer men as his victims. I have an alternate theory. I think that he just can't find women who are dumb enough to get into a stranger's car in the middle of the night. Like, that's all I can think about with these guys. Who are these guys that are getting into a weird stranger's car at like 2 o'clock in the morning? I just don't think that the women of Halifax are dumb enough to do that. And that's my theory. Love the show. Bye.
Now, I'm not going to victim blame, but I feel like if I go downtown, whether it's me or a woman driving, and we ask 10 men and 10 women to get in the car with us, I have a feeling more guys are going to get a free ride home.
Yes. I think you're right. Like there's always an exception to the rule, but yeah, you're definitely gonna get more men being like, yeah, for sure.
For sure, I'll try the gloves on. Um, well, this getting in a car with glove guy is certainly going to be an encounter with a creep, but I believe that the creepiest ride of all time is about to be described in a matter of moments from a listener.
Oh no.
Uh, what's interesting about this, I just want you to listen for this in it, is I feel like when people send us their creep encounter stories, they kind of censor it a little bit. So if there's something really derogatory or explicit, they kind of hone it back a little bit in telling. If this listener censored any part of this story, I can't imagine what it could have been because this is about as horrific as it can get getting in an Uber with a creep. Here it comes.
Hi, Jordan and Madeline. I'm calling from the States. I'm in California. And I just moved here from Colorado. And so I have been trying to maybe go out a little bit. And so I was talking with my friend. We decided to go to an art show that was happening in LA. And I was going to take an Uber out to where they are. And I'm kind of in the boonies. I'm like a bit by like a bunch of horse ranches, and I'm at the base of the Angeles National Forest, so there's not very many drivers for Uber that come out into this area. And the one that I got was a total creep. He was an older gentleman, and I think this was about a 20-minute ride, but within 5 minutes he was telling me about his sex life with his wife, how he loves going down on people, both men and women, but he prefers women. He basically said whatever he can get, I guess. Then he decided to, and this is a bit of a trigger warning for being very, very vulgar, he decided to tell me his like dirtiest thing he's ever done, which was he likes to be cucked and
Just want to stop there. I had to Google that term, and cucked.
Really?
Yeah, I'm innocent, Madeline. Cucked is
Oh.
when you get sexual like gratification from like being cheated on or seeing like your partner with someone else. Is that, did I get that right?
It's like, yeah, usually a man watching his wife having sex with someone else.
Okay. Just for all the other innocent people, ignorant people like me. Now we know. Let's get back to what goes on from there.
He likes to be cucked, and so he had his best friend have sex with his wife, and then he consumed his friend's out of his wife afterwards. Super crazy to even say at all, let alone to somebody you just met, but I kind of feel like that was something he was getting off on, is like the anonymity, and then maybe my reaction. But I think I was just fawning. I mean, being in Los Angeles, you're already kind of accustomed to creep encounters, and I probably just laughed uncomfortably just so that I can get through this drive. I mean, of course, I wanted to sort of open the door and just roll out on the road. I didn't. He then told or asked me for my phone number, but he wanted me to have a pen and paper and write it down so he didn't put it in his phone so he didn't get caught, which to me doesn't really make sense, because if I found somebody's phone number on a piece of paper, I'd be more concerned. But then also kind of poses the question, like, how sketchy is this guy? Does his wife regularly go through his phone or something? I don't know. I mean, this man already seems sketchy, so there's that. He asked me for my phone number so that just in case I wanted to try him out. And then he said that he wanted to try out my mouth. Just horrifying. It was really bad. But I just laughed. Then his wife called him while we were in the car, and he told me to be quiet, and she was asking where he was. He said he had an Uber rider or passenger, and that he'd call her right back. And that was that. But we basically got to my friend's house. I thanked him for the ride. I don't know why I did, but doing the niceties. And then I told my friend, and he just burned a bunch of Palo Santo and sage and like tried to remove that from us before we went out. And yeah, I just hope that since I'm in this rural area that I never get this driver again, because it's definitely possible. Yeah, California keeping it weird for sure. Thank you guys.
You see what I mean? Is like either she didn't censor it at all, or this is I don't know
There,
what this is.
there's weird, which we're fans of weird. This is beyond.
hmm Is it
Like, this
is it illegal?
that
I
has
guess
to be like sexual harassment or something. Because like,
something.
when did she ask? Oh my God.
Mhm.
And that's how you steer a conversation with a young girl you just picked up?
Yeah, like, and
That's
it's like
so weird.
you know, I've had awkward conversations with cabbies, but it's usually them like complaining about the city or the mayor or something, and you know, it's like that kind of like annoying awkward. But
Yeah,
to have that kind of meandering conversation turn into like, let me tell you about the kinkiest thing I've ever done, like that. It's I would have I don't know. I feel like I would have opened the door and rolled out of the car like she suggested. But
totally.
then again, just like the glove guy stories, and that's kind of why I use that glove guy clip. Like the glove guy stories, I think a part of me would be like, I'm just going to get through this drive. If, you know, if he comes near me, I'm going to like kill him in his car. But if he doesn't, I'm just going to get through this and smile and get out because it's, you know, that is creepy what this guy's doing. He is a
Oh, at least Glove Guy isn't like outwardly vulgar. I guess Glove Guy's sexual in a sense, but like, this is not an issue of Penthouse Forum.
No, you
Like,
have a you're in the car alone with like a sexual deviant 100%. Who,
right. And what did he expect? Her to be like, let's let's give it a go.
Don't make me say what he expected.
Like,
But
oh,
he wanted, well, he wanted her number if she wanted to try him out. Use your imagination. I
but then
think
he's scared of his wife finding out. And I'm like, I
but
thought you were both quite
it,
open.
it has like the
Like,
strangest open relationship. Very specific things that can and can't happen in that relationship. If that creep's wife is listening, I would gladly have you on the show for an interview.
totally.
Uh,
Also, I would like to point out or just like remark on how much I really hate the word cuck. I just don't like the way it sounds.
well, it
But lots
sounds
of people,
vulgar, but it should, I guess it should.
right. But lots of people use it as like an insult. And I'm like, it's really just a kink, like anything else.
I've heard
But
the
I really
word,
hate
and
the word.
yeah, I heard the word, and I thought like I've heard someone referred to as a cuck, and I thought that meant they were just like a pushover or like a like a wuss.
Oh, yeah.
But when I heard that voicemail, I was like, what's that context? And then
I'm wrong. I've been wrong this whole time.
I've never used it, but it does sound vulgar,
Thank
even if you don't
God.
know the meaning, because it sounds an awful lot like the F word, and it sounds an
Yeah.
awful lot like a derogatory term for the male genitalia mixed
Yeah.
together. So it's like two like
Do you think
socially,
that's derogatory? I just think
uh,
it's another term.
I don't derogatory in the sense of like in mixed company, I wouldn't use that term. Either of those
Okay,
ones.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah, I guess
Absolutely.
derogatory wasn't the right word. Maybe like a harsh,
Vulgar?
yeah, a slightly vulgar. If I was
Yeah.
I was gonna say if I was like talking to like a random person at Walmart, a cashier, they were ringing me through. I wouldn't say that word, but then again, I wouldn't even use like the medical, like I wouldn't. There's no situation where I would say the word penis to the cashier at Walmart.
That's true.
So anyway, among mixed company, I wouldn't
I
use that either of
I
those
have
words.
some friends that use it just like very, very plainly, very
Really?
naturally. Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Anyway, it's a delight where these creeps, the conversations these creep stories can get us into. Take a short break, and then we have a collection of random encounters with creeps, and these are the kind of the toss salad of creep encounters. Here's a good one from a listener named Hannah, and this is interesting because the creep she encountered was really creeping someone else while she encountered this creep randomly. Did you ever smoke? Were you ever a smoker?
Not regularly. I smoke when I drink sometimes.
Okay. I was a regular smoker for years, and when you would go outside like for a smoke break, you're often like alone, and I feel like that's an invitation for a creep encounter or just a weird encounter. I just go outside of work, have a cigarette standing on the side of the road, and something unusual would happen. I'd often go back into work and have a story about the weird thing that happened in the 3 minutes that I was gone. Uh, this story from Hannah involves some misadventure she found herself in the middle of during a cigarette break.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm calling for Encounters with Creeps. Let's see, in like 2016, when I was in my mid 20s, I was living in an apartment complex in College Station, Texas, or Texas A&M is. You might not know where that is, but some of your listeners might. And it was really late at night, maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was playing a lot of video games, but I was sitting outside taking a break, and I was smoking a cigarette. And I'll just describe the apartments were set up. There was like a left apartment and a right apartment, a top floor and a bottom floor, and there was a shared stairwell. And I was living in the apartment on the right-hand side on the top, and my apartment mate underneath me had just moved in. So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting outside, and I see a guy standing on the sidewalk out in front of that apartment. And I said hello to him, he said hello to me, and he asked if he could have a cigarette. So I came down the stairs and I handed him one, and I asked him if he was my new neighbor, and he said no. He said that he was just visiting a friend in the apartment. His phone died and he was lost trying to go home. And it was like a labyrinth of apartments, and they were identical. So I definitely believed him. And so we were just talking, everything seemed normal. And then I got a vibe from something he was saying. It was getting creepy. And then he just looked at me and he smiled and he's like, "Do you know that your neighbors are having sex?" And apparently he was looking through the slats of the fence and he was watching them inside of their house. And he said, yeah, I've just been out here recording it with my phone. And that's when I realized like how far away from my door I was and how so very alone I was with this freak at the base of my staircase, and just trying to wrap up the conversation in a really polite way and scram up the stairs back to my apartment. But yeah, psycho. Just no difference to his affect at all, talking to me about it as if he was talking about the weather. And I didn't really know if there was anything I should do in that situation, like knock on my neighbor's door. I don't know. It was just dangerous. But yeah, so don't trust strangers, I guess. And thank you for all of the great work. I love your show. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Knocking on the neighbor's door and interrupting them to let them know what you just witnessed or the conversation you just had maybe wouldn't be the best solution at that point. I'd say let them just do their thing.
Oh, totally. And like maybe mention it like the next day if you see them outside.
But
But
it's her new
also,
neighbors. Can you imagine how
oh
awkward
yeah.
that would be?
Kate, but like this guy, yeah, like you know your neighbors are having sex. Like, yeah, home is usually where people have sex. You freak.
Well, I
Like
think
this is not like this is normal.
I think he maybe felt like he found like a kindred spirit. I can only imagine he's walking around looking for his friend's place. He overhears or sees something. I'm guessing hears at first, which compels him to look through the fence posts
Like a creep.
like a creep, sees something, starts filming it, or like a creep. Then he meets her. She probably thinks, oh, that's my new neighbor from downstairs. Like this is a good chance to like meet him. He wants a cigarette. We can hang out and talk. In this conversation, she realized this is not my neighbor. This is just kind of an odd guy. For some reason, he felt comfortable enough telling her what he was doing. Oh, did you notice? Like they're having sex. Like this is great. Like I'm filming it. Do you want to film it with me? What was he like the last creep we talked about? Why did he bring this up to her? He should have ran
Yeah.
off.
Well, and like he is so lucky that she just decided to go out at 3 a.m. To have a cigarette, gave him one, like a stand-up citizen.
Hmm.
Ugh, that is just a very unfortunate timing encounter.
Yeah. Well,
Very.
that's why this has made the cut to our random encounters with creeps. Often these stories, most times we do this, most volumes of encounters with creeps will have a section of random encounters. That is one. When you go outside at night in an apartment complex to have a cigarette, you never know what you're going to get. And
Well, and even worse now, he knows where she lives.
well, he seems a lot more interested in her neighbors.
Yeah, I guess.
Ugh. Let's hear.
Cringe.
Yes. Here, I got one that'll make you cringe. You've probably been in a situation where you're outside, nature had called, and you didn't have an easy bathroom with a locking door to get to, and you had to take care of a bodily function outside somewhere. I hope it never went as bad as it did for Carly.
Oh no.
This is Carly meeting a creep while peeing outside.
No.
Hi, Jordan. I like your podcast, and I'm just trying to get this under 90 seconds, so I'm just going to get right into it. When I was in high school, me, my boyfriend at the time, and my friend wanted to go to a party. And my boyfriend at the time, his older brother was a Marine, and one of his friends were throwing a party, so we just went to that one. And as we were at the party, me and my friend ended up needing to use the bathroom, and we basically were told we had to go outside. So we had to go use the bathroom outside. And so we find this discreet corner of the house, and we go around it, and we pop a squat there, and we can, like, hear the music from the house, like, in the background, and we're just, like, giggling, having a good time. And all of a sudden, I get this terrible feeling in my, like literally, it was so sudden. And I just felt like someone was watching me. So I turn around and look over my shoulder, and at the far corner of the building was this guy wearing a fucking baseball cap, how cliche, looking down at us and watching us pee. And when I had turned around and he had, like, realized that I had caught him, he was so taken aback that he was caught, and he, like, fled. So mid-air dry, I pull up my pants, and me and my friend run inside, and I go tell everybody what had happened. And me and my friend got a ride home because we were so creeped out. But as we were leaving, there was, like, a group of 10 of those Marines walking around the street looking for that guy. So yeah, don't know if they ever caught him, and if you can help it, always pee inside.
I think we could probably scour like the list of missing persons cases from that state and see if they if those that group of Marines found that guy. Uh, that is one outcome, but the other outcome, why didn't they let these girls use the bathroom inside? Like a part of me is like, are they in on it? Like, oh no, you can't. You do it in here. Go outside. Then coincidentally, there's some guy with a baseball cap on like the roof. It sounds like looking down at her.
I imagine the bathroom was just like out of commission. That's what I would assume.
I guess. I just think if I had some friends at my house and if a guy needed to use the bathroom and my bathroom was out of commission, I'd be like, you can't like just go pee in the yard or something. But I
Right.
feel like if a woman asked to use the bathroom in my house, I would like do every single thing I could to accommodate them before saying you'll have to pee outside. I just,
I think you're overestimating um the politeness of these Marines.
oh
I'm
man.
picturing like a bunch of super young guys in like a trash house with no working bathroom. They're like, yeah, just go outside. We weren't expecting girls to show up.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking of like a group of 30 somethings like having wine with like soft music
Oh,
playing and the bathroom's out of commission, meaning like it wasn't cleaned up appropriately or something. There's a hair
maybe they had a
straightener on the.
party the night before and like the sink was pulled off the wall or something. But even then, you
Yeah,
could still technically use it.
yeah. Either way, it's this creep encounter though. He, the guy is watching her or looking in her direction. When she looks up and makes eye contact, he flees. I just wonder, like we like to talk about if these are creep encounters. I can just imagine, much like Hannah's story before this, maybe this guy's just outside having a cigarette break and he doesn't even really realize what's happening. He's just drifting off into space thinking about his problems. And then he notices someone looking at him and he's like, "Oh shit, like she's peeing right now." And I think I would run too.
Well, right? Yeah, I really hope this is just like a big
Yeah,
misunderstanding.
because
But the
I think
way that there's a big difference between men and women peeing outside. Men, you could make it like kind of inconspicuous, but like,
I also think that the average guy wouldn't get like sexual pleasure out of seeing a girl use the bathroom. But I'm sure there are guys that would. But this guy, like,
if he's looking from up top,
but he's looking like into the yard. Like he wouldn't expect to see a girl. Like let's say his kink
right,
is seeing girls use the bathroom. He wouldn't be like, I'm gonna just watch a random backyard of that party.
right. And also, like, I imagine it was dark. And yeah, if he's looking from above, like hopefully he was just like, what are they doing? What is going on?
Yeah. And then the moment where
And then
he's like,
realize it.
she's making eye contact and he's like, "Oh my God, she's just in the bathroom. I'm looking at her. I'm out of here."
Sprints
Now
away.
he's hiding in a bush as a gang of Marines patrol the neighborhood. Oh yeah, that sucks.
Oh, the poor guy's probably like, I'm gay. Like this is not an issue.
Um, in this case, the creep was getting chased, but let's hear from Morgan, who was followed by a creep.
Oof.
Yeah. I think this one also ends with, was this a creep? So ask yourself that question as we listen.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm from Pennsylvania. But every time I listen to your creep encounters, I'm like, I have so many creep encounters. It almost feels like I can't leave the house without running into some creep. So I thought I'd share the one that was truly terrifying. Me and two or three of my girlfriends went down to the beach for a weekend trip during winter. So it was cold out, it was snowing, and it was our last day there. And we kind of wanted to just go down onto the beach to see the water, even though it was cold out. It had snowed, so it looked really pretty. But one of my friends wasn't feeling it, so she stayed back, and the two of us went down just like 2 blocks to the beach to see the water and everything. We're up there for only a few minutes before an older man, dressed in all black, of course, comes up to us and starts a conversation. He's saying, like, how are you guys? How you doing? We're just kind of, being polite, but not really engaging with him. And I'm kind of waiting for him to go off do his own thing. I was trying to get a nice scenic picture of the snow leading up to the path on the beach. I was waiting for him to keep walking, trying to get my little picture, and he was just standing there. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to get my picture then. And so me and my friend decided to leave. We start to head off back on the trail. And of course, the second that he saw us leave, he also started to follow behind us. So I'm always very aware of my surroundings. I was taking note of this guy, so I kind of was lingering around on the boardwalk. We were pretending to be on our phone so he wouldn't, follow us, see us walk back to our house. So he continues back down onto the street and walks about 2 blocks back on the street where we came from. So we're kind of watching him and we're like, well, how are we going to get back to the house? We don't want to walk past him. We don't want him to see where we're going. And then I start to get a little bit paranoid because we left one of our friends at the house with the door unlocked. We thought we were only going to be gone for like 10 minutes, didn't even bring our wallet, didn't have ID, only had our phones with us, and our door was unlocked at home. So we were starting to get a little paranoid. And this guy is just standing in the middle of the road, kicking the ground. He was like touching cars, put his foot up on the side of a car, like acting really weird, lingering around in the middle of the street. And then all of a sudden, a white minivan pulls up in the middle of the street. He leans in the passenger window for a second. It says something, I guess. And all of a sudden, the car makes a big U-turn and goes back down the street. And so we're like, what the hell was that? That was so creepy. And so we're waiting for a while up there and we're like, how are we going to get back? And eventually the guy ended up just disappearing. We did not see where he walked off to. So we were like, okay, well, let's walk back through the alleyway behind my house instead of the main street so he doesn't see us walk into the front door if he's around. So we start to walk back the pathway, and it was, I swear, the scariest walk of my life. We were almost expecting to see this man. Our heads were like on a swivel, hearts pounding, silent, and it was dark, and we're under the houses behind at a beach house. So you know how they're all on stilts. So we were like expecting to see this man like underneath one of these houses. And we ended up getting incredibly lucky. I made it home, didn't see the guy again, but it was truly terrifying. And yeah, I don't really know what he was doing there. What do you think? Was he a creep? Me and my girlfriends always kind of say, you have to know as an older man, it's weird to go out of your way to talk to younger girls, even if your intention is totally fine. Like, just avoid that. But yeah, that is my one creep encounter. There's so many more. I'll probably call in another time with those, but thank you.
When I hear that, much like the prior, I think there's a world in a set of circumstances in which that is just a big misunderstanding. But
Yes, but
but
there's
it's
something to be said about your spidey senses and your
absolutely.
gut.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, just to be like lingering around and touching cars and like I would also kind of be on high alert. Like
Yeah.
that's just weird.
Yeah, and she was like her spider sense was going off down on the beach long before they're in the neighborhood, and he's like the way she described it, it sounds like a horror movie where he's like always like a block behind her, walking in the same direction. Like
Yeah.
just like, is that still him? Oh my God. Like I can imagine that feeling. Like that's still that same guy all dressed in black. Kind of like, is he following us or is he just live in the same neighborhood as us or whatever? And
Well, and
then
then
we
you have the element of the creepy van.
yeah, yeah. What is with that? Like, of course, my mind goes to like, well, maybe he's going to grab someone and his buddy in the van. They're going to throw the girl they grab in the van and flee. Like that. That's kind of where my mind goes anyway.
Right.
Then another part of this story that I think it's just cinematic is this is happening near a beach, and she described the beach houses where they're not on the ground on a foundation. They're like 4 feet off the ground with kind of like on posts in case it floods or something. So that would be so much creepier because you'd be looking under everything. Like, is he under there? Is he under there? Like if you were hunting someone, stalking someone in an area where all the homes are up on stilts would be an especially advantageous area to do it.
Oh yeah, that's a scene of a horror movie. The houses on stilts by the beach. Like
Yeah, and the guy in the hockey mask with the machete, yeah, every time we'd look, he'd be back. But she even described it as like, we got lucky that we got home. So there's a part of her who is like, there's a pretty good chance we were going to get killed by this guy that night.
or at the very least abducted.
Yeah. Ugh.
Do you
Um,
go to the beach in the winter?
no, I don't.
This
I don't.
surprises
Oh,
me.
are you asking me? Because I don't go in the summer or winter.
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah,
No.
no, I never would have thought beach in the winter.
Well, where did she say where she lived? Maybe she lived somewhere
She was on
where.
a vacation somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, her and her friends went somewhere.
But it's
So,
still I bet you a beach in the winter would be. I'd probably prefer it over the summer. It would probably be really nice. But I've gone a few times out of season just to just for something to do, drive there, go for a walk.
I guess
I have
people
a
ice fish.
Yeah, I have a metal detector, so going when there's less people, you can walk around looking for coins and rings and such.
Yeah.
But I don't like strong sunlight, so I would be more like if you were inviting me to the beach once a month for an entire year, I would say yes from October till May.
Okay.
Keep
I'm the
that in
opposite.
mind.
I'm like a lizard. I could live in a terrarium.
Really, I could live in an air-conditioned terrarium with a curtain over it.
I just imagine your house is like a morgue.
Oh
It's
my
probably
gosh.
so cold in there.
Yeah, there's one light and it's red. Um, let's get to the next section, the final segment of Creep Encounter Stories. We've heard stories in cars, we've heard random encounters. We're now going to get into 3 creep encounters at work. Buckle up, Madeline. Here comes the story of the nurse practitioner who examined a creep.
Hi there. I'm from Ohio and I wanted to leave a brief voicemail for you for your creep segments. I am a nurse practitioner in the United States. Because of HIPAA laws, I'm going to be kind of vague about where I am and what I'm doing, but I'm working at walk-in type centers at various locations in various different companies across a couple states. Well, one day I'm at the urgent care and I get a patient, and the nurse tells me he wants a female provider, which is fine and dandy. And this was a male patient. And he was concerned because he had felt a lump on his anus. Of course, it's not our favorite visit in the whole world or anything, but we've seen a lot of stuff. So I'm like, okay. And I can understand why that can be concerning. So I go in there to examine this man. And, of course, they have to pull down their pants and let me take a look. And as I'm looking, I get the sense of deja vu. I'm pretty sure I've seen this butt before. And it's rare for you to have that feeling because this becomes so routine, you don't remember one person's genitalia or anything from another. But this gentleman had a tattoo on his backside that was one that may be common on a female, but I've never seen on a male before. And I thought, have I seen this before? So, anyways, I took a look. I reassured him everything was fine. It just had a very small hemorrhoid and left the room and discharged him. Well, we now have electronic medical records. So there is a way that you can kind of like pull in charts from other facilities. So I kind of clicked that button, and sure enough, I had seen this backside for the exact same problem at one of my other offices. And I was able to see that he'd had dozens of visits across the state, at least, for the same problem where he asked for female providers. All the times were reassured. He was even sent to specialists for it and reassured. So you have to feel that he is in some way getting some kind of sexual gratification from bearing it all to us. And it's not the first time I've encountered that in patients. I had one years ago when I worked primary care who was constantly, I mean, he could come in for a sore throat and he's like, hey, while I'm here, will you check my prostate? And usually men are not jumping at that. And this man would every time want you to touch his prostate. And, I caught on to it pretty early and I would just say, no, we aren't going to be doing it. It has been checked already this year. You have a specialist that's checking it, and we're just not going to do it. But man, there's creeps out there everywhere, and it's unfortunate that they prey on people, where you're at your workplace and it is a part of your job, and you have to be professional and you have to take it seriously. But I will definitely keep this gentleman's name in mind, and in the future I will say no, one of my male colleagues is gonna take a look see or you can try another facility because I do feel creeped out and somewhat victimized by this. But other than that, I love your show. My eldest daughter is getting ready to go to college, and we just found out that her roommate is Canadian. So I'm gonna try to get her into your podcast too, and then we'll have something to share and bond over as well. So I hope you guys have a great day and keep Canada weird because it's weird down here too. Have a good one. Bye.
I look forward to their bonding when she's like, "Oh, it was your mom who met the prostate pervert."
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, that's
Uh,
your mom.
yeah.
Oh,
With this here story, a part of me feels bad because maybe it's some person who feels like maybe I have something wrong with me. I need a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. There's that as a possibility. But then, why do you want a female to do it?
exactly. That's kind of the dead giveaway there.
It is, right?
Oh, it's yeah. Well, and it's like he's trying to hoodwink people into his sexual gratification.
Mhm.
And now he's bringing medical professionals into it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is just like an open door for,
Yeah,
me.
this reminds me of the story of the doula duper, Caitlin Braun.
Yeah.
We talked about as someone who has, if that is what's happening here, and this is some weird fetish that he's getting sexual gratification from by playing into someone's willingness to help and ability
Yeah.
to, just to take advantage of the medical system, that is awful.
Well, and also this is in the States. So like he could have insurance, but like those appointments aren't free.
Yeah, that's right. Because she said I was working at urgent care or something. That is,
Yeah.
you would pay to do that.
You would definitely like get billed. I don't know how it works if you pay up front or whatever, but
Uh, I, th
interesting.
I
Very
think he could
interesting.
probably hire someone to do these
I
things for
was
him.
just gonna say that. Like if you're paying anyway, get someone that knows they're doing it. Like don't
Hmm.
just trick someone
But let's
into
just talk this out though. So you can pay someone who knows that they're doing it, like a sex worker, but maybe he's like, I want someone who knows how to do it correctly though. So it's like
I guess.
you need like a nurse practitioner or a sex worker with a medical background. And that's
I'm sure they're
maybe
out there.
I'm sure there is. It's just I think in Ohio on short notice.
True.
I don't. Yeah, I
On
think
short notice.
this is we're making light of it. This is if that is what's happening, it's awful. I've heard of people, doctor shopping to try to get painkiller subscriptions, those
Yeah.
sorts of things. This seems like the prostate pervert version of that.
Yeah.
That's what I call him, the
It's
prostate
not
pervert.
so different.
No, not at all. It's taking advantage of a medical system and for your own deviant reasons, whether it's
Yeah.
an addiction to painkillers or a sexual, I don't know what you'd call it, a kink, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm,
Interesting. Weird. Interesting.
absolutely. Let's see what we got left here. Okay, yeah. So I'm forgetting. We're just at the very beginning of the creeps at work segment. We got two more. There's one market of creep stories that I don't believe we've tapped yet. Do you recall us receiving any creep encounters from a gay man? I don't
No.
until
I feel
now.
like this would stick with me.
Yeah, it's when I listened to his voice message, I thought like, oh my God, I think this is our first. Well, we are proud to have you here. This is a gay man from BC's creep. I'm calling him a gay man because he mentions it, and I don't think he says his name. Here it is.
Hey, Jordan and Madeline. You guys get me through so many work days. It's lovely. I unfortunately have too many of these. I'm a gay man, and shout out Madeline, bartended for like a long time. In BC, don't really want to say the town just in case. We had just opened up a new nightclub. We were like getting it all ready. And this one dude who, I mean, this just adds color to the story. A furry, he would wear his fursuit like to the club. Anyways, he was our IT guy. So he was like setting up the security cameras, like getting our internet up, all that shit. I was there like scraping like the floor, like I was on my hands and knees, like literally like just cleaning the floor. And he said in front of, the owner, my boss, his wife, their young daughter, in front of everyone, says to me, you should come over and do that at my place in a French maid outfit. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, everyone was just in stunned silence. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Anyways, love you guys.
For aside from the awful remark, that sounds like an amazing club. So this guy's like
Right.
bartending, he's clean, he's cleaning up, keeping the place tidy. The IT guy is a furry in like full, like, I don't know, dressed like a deer or something. I can only imagine. This
The
place sounds.
IT guy.
I didn't know nightclubs had IT guys, but I guess to manage all the security cameras and stuff, he probably doesn't work there full time.
I guess. I would just assume that the DJ doubled as the IT guy.
The DJ handling security. Well, that would
Yeah.
explain why like CCTV footage of robberies and stuff is always so awful.
Yeah.
Here's a picture the DJ got of the guy who robbed us. This we've heard so many stories like this. It's just an out of place sexual remark that just lands horribly. This is just another example of that. He says the caller said like I don't know what to say. I don't know
It's
what you
like, I
say.
mean, he
Yeah,
may have meant it as a joke,
not a good joke.
but no.
Well, like we've said before in prior volumes, if you're going to make that joke, be damn sure that the audience is going to be receptive of that style of humor.
Right. Well, my best friend in the world is a gay man,
Hmm.
and I have seen some of his grinder conversations. People will say very unhinged things. So, like that remark, yeah, that's I can't say like I'm super surprised that he
Hmm.
just very generally said it out loud for everyone to
Yeah,
hear.
well, I'm sure it is. Maybe that'll open the door to more. I'm glad we're helping getting him through days of work, though. I think that's the
Oh,
least we can do.
that makes my heart smile.
Let's get to our last creep encounter of the night. This is an interesting one because it's another workplace creep, but of all places, it is a British mural artist who encounters a creep. Like of all
This is
the
very
occupation,
specific.
yeah, of all the occupations that would be like, I will tell a story about the weird thing that happened to me at work. I never would have guessed a mural artist from Yorkshire, but here we are.
Hey there, my name's Rachel. I'm from Yorkshire in England, hence the accent. Hopefully you can understand me. I love the show, and the encounters with creeps made me realise I've had far too many encounters with creeps. The one that sticks out most in my mind is I'm a professional mural artist. One day I received a message from this guy saying, could you come give me a quote? I'm interested in having a painting done. Pretty standard. So we arranged a time, a day, and I arrived at his house. Everything seemed pretty normal. He said he wanted the mural in his bedroom, which is not that common. But like, I'm all for it. You're paying me. It's gonna be great. So when we got in his bedroom, it was a surprise because everything was normal until we got to the bed, and it had like a sex swing slash harness slash bondage contraption. I don't know. And I looked at this guy, and he just went, "Oh, oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, silly me. I forgot to put that away. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Me and my friend were just messing around." And it's like, I was a lot younger at the time, but still at 23, I knew this guy was speaking bullshit. And he was clearly getting off on the fact that he might have shocked me. So I just acted like it were normal, because like I feel like the worst thing you can do is give him the satisfaction of looking embarrassed, or it's like the worst thing you could do to really go along with his kink. Anyway, so it gets worse, and then he starts looking at his phone and saying, "Oh, I've saved a picture of what I was wanting." There's me expecting him now at this point to be wanting a picture of a woman with a gag in her mouth. And he's scrolling through his phone to show me a picture. And honestly, the first thing I see on his phone is like a blow-by-blow of a woman in the swing in that bed. And every time he flicks through the pictures, she's just like moving slightly. She's completely naked. Her legs are open. I can see what she had for a dinner. And he's going, "Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh." Clearly, he's not embarrassed. Clearly, he's doing it on purpose. And, I'm not easily fazed, so I just laughed it off. And eventually he did show me what he were really wanting, and it was nothing like strange. It was just a stone wall effect. And anyway, so then we booked in a date. He said he'd send me a deposit that night, and before I left, he said, "Do you want to see my sex basement?" So, needless to say, I did not go see his sex basement, and I left. And then a week later, he cancelled the appointment anyway. So I don't think he really had any intention or ever having any work done. He just wanted to see me blush or not blush, because no way I was gonna give him the satisfaction. Yeah, so keep up the creeping back counters. Sadly, that's not the only one I've got, but I don't want to go too far over on time. So, thank you. Bye bye.
I want to hear the rest of her creep encounter stories. Her storytelling skills are amazing.
Oh, she's fabulous. I could talk to her again and again.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to unpack here.
Well, it's clear that he just coaxed her into getting in that room so he could like show off the fact that he's like a kinkster or something. Like, oh, what is that?
But like he's not even showing himself off. He's showing off another woman.
Yeah, well, this like, oh my God, I left the swing here. This is so embarrassing. You'll have to forgive me. Let's. I'm just gonna leave it here. It's one of my swings. Let me show you photos. And then the blow by. It's almost like he held in the shutter release on his camera on his phone, so it's just like 1,000 photos. Like, oh my God, this is so horrible. I have to flip through these. I'm so.
Like a stop motion animation kind of type deal.
Yes. Oh God. And she was like, I can hear it in her voice. She was completely unimpressed, unfazed by the whole thing. Like, yeah, both the
Yeah.
mural. You want
Well,
to
and
see
I was gonna say, like, usually those items are in a bedroom, so like I don't know why you're, acting so erratic and quote unquote embarrassed.
just to bring more attention to it.
Well, but he's got a whole sex basement.
Yeah, and
So
I think when she wasn't receptive to him showing the photos or making a big deal about the swing, his Hail Mary at the end was just like, "Do you want to see my sex basement?" Like, I'm just gonna put it all out there to you, mural artist. I have a sex basement. She's like, I still don't care.
I still don't care.
Send
Please
the
send
deposit.
the deposit.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yikes.
I'm not at all surprised that he didn't follow through on the order. He's just like,
No.
no, I'm not going to get laid by, I'm not going to get laid in my sex basement by a mural artist today.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, was it just for the shock value, or was he expecting her or wanting her to be like, let's try this swing out together?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I'm a collector of 1980s action figures, specifically G.I. Joe. I'm kind of a picturing this story of me inviting a mural artist and being like, oh my God, my G.I. Joes are spread all over the bed here. Like, let me just put these away. I have a collection downstairs. Like
You want to see my GI Joe basement?
that's kind of like how I'm picturing this playing out. Like, just I'm so proud of it. I can't resist bringing it up to you right now. That's him with having gotten laid recently in his swing. Like, oh my God,
Right?
these pictures. I have a video of it, and why is that playing right now?
I'd like to hope that if I were in that situation, I would just very nonchalantly be like, yeah, we all have sex. Moving on.
Yeah,
Like,
about the
this
mural.
is, you are not special. Like,
Yeah.
about the mural. Exactly.
And if you were him and you were really embarrassed by it, you wouldn't bring attention to it.
Well, exactly. Just like silence and keep going with your mural appointment.
God, it never ends.
Oh.
This is quite the collection.
These were great.
It's from all over the board. What I enjoy about them, a few things. One, it's a reminder to keep your wits about you and your eyes open and not trust strangers and trust your spider sense and your instincts. But it's also like just the variety of stories. You could never expect some of this stuff.
And just from everywhere, we kind of, at the beginning of the episode, you mentioned how far and wide these creep stories have spread from. We should get a map because we have, and like pin everywhere we've gotten them from. Because of course we've gotten a ton of states, lots from Canada, but like as far as Chile and we've gotten like England, Scotland. I think there was one from Spain. Like
yeah, and we had a Swedish one, I believe, at one point. But yeah, York.
Yeah.
She said I'm in Yorkshire. I don't recognize that. That must be it sounds very British to me. I can only assume it's England.
Oh yeah. Well, Yorkshire pudding. Yum.
It's
British
anything
food.
with Shire means England, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. I've heard of it, but I couldn't pinpoint it on a map for you. I don't know if it's northern, no clue.
Well, if I'm ever there, I'm going to look up the best mural artist in Yorkshire and be like, tell me more stories.
Let's go for coffee, and I'm not going to lure you into my sex dungeon.
Yeah. There's a coffee shop in my sex dungeon. There's a sex basement in my coffee shop. Well, let's wrap this up. For anyone out there who has a story to tell, we want to hear it. We're going to do so many more. This is volume 19. We're months behind. Like the stories we heard tonight were probably sent in 2 or 3 months ago. So if you're listening and you've sent in a story, we didn't skip you. We probably just haven't gotten to it yet, but we're going to keep plugging away and getting through it until every creep story on this great planet has been told.
Well, and as we are inching closer to September, we're going to try and get on more of a schedule, you and I. We
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah, that's the deal. So,
and as you've said before, I selfishly had a child, and that's, dealing with that is getting easier. So I'll make myself more available.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, it's, I always slow down in the summer anyway, because my kids are home from school. Come September, we're back in business.
I couldn't imagine having two. Good God.
The saying for any parents of more than one child out there will get this. In speaking of multiple children, 1 is 1, 2 is like 20. And it's true. I have 20-something kids. I want to thank you for joining Madeline and I for this episode of Nighttime. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up this episode, but before we part, let me first end with some thanks. I'd like to give a huge and sincere thank you to everyone who took their time to share their creep encounters with us. These stories serve as a great reminder to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to all the other listeners out there who have a story to share, we're going to be doing a whole bunch more episodes in this series, and we'd love to feature your encounter with a creep. You can share it with us by using the voice recorder at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. If you got something to share, go to the site now. The voice recorder is easy to use, and don't worry if you make any mistakes or misspeak, as I'll edit it before it goes to air and make sure we're all sounding our best. We're excited to hear from you. Next, I want to give a big thanks to Monty Datta, who contributes to the music for this episode, and LJ from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. And on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the Nighttime Podcast Premium feed. Chris, Abigail, and Cousin, I appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of new episodes, but the premium feed will also give you access to those episodes 2 days early, get them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of all prior episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you can't go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know what we're doing here. Your support is very much appreciated. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte.